Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as Magic, and this is of course Warframe. So last time we left off, we completed the Ceres Junction, and we've moved on, and we can now do quests in Ceres, if I can click it for the life of me. There is some news to mention. The Pyrrhus project is completed. We weren't able to really participate this time around. Hopefully in the future they'll have that event again for some other relays, because there are other relays out there that have been destroyed. Hopefully we'll be able to get to participate at that point, because we'll be ready for them. Another thing I did want to mention is, I've talked about it previously when we were doing the, I believe it was Stolen Dreams questline, that Maru will have weekly Ayatan treasure hunts, and I wanted to show one of those off just briefly. They're not very long missions, so we'll show them off, but I'm sure everybody's been waiting for the moment when we finally get our Rhino, so let's just go ahead and do it. So we go over to our foundry, check what we've got, and we finished Galantine, and we finished Rhino. So now we can go over and check our arsenal, and we can, let's create another loadout. Duplicate. So we've got different loadouts for different things you can do with them. You've got lots of options there for how to set them up and whatnot, but we're just going to duplicate what we have to a new loadout. We'll call this one Rhino, just to be basic about it. Later on we can always change it. And we'll equip our Rhino Warframe. Look at him, he's big and burly. Rhino, of course, has some very good abilities. This is, of course, one of the frames that I pretty much would recommend that you always have, just because his ability to survive is great with his second ability, Iron Skin. It prevents him from taking damage as long as it's active. It also prevents him from taking status effects, so you can pretty much just shrug everything off and laugh as the enemies do nothing to you. His first ability is Rhino Charge. Basically, you just charge forward, knocking enemies back. It does create like a combo window depending on how many enemies you hit. Overall, it's not massively useful for the energy cost. I find it's pretty good. There's an augment for it that's pretty okay. I just find that his other abilities tend to be more impactful. So I already talked about Iron Skin. His third ability, Roar, is a buff to his entire team. When he uses it, all of his team gets a damage buff, which is phenomenal. That, of course, means that not only is he prevented from taking damage, he can also increase his own damage and his team's damage, which is great. His final ability, Rhino Stomp, I love the description of it. He stomps with force sufficient to disrupt time. So when you hit his fourth ability, all enemies caught within it are thrown into the air and slowed down. It's kind of a hilarious effect, and I hope I get to show it off this time around, but if I don't, we will show it off in the future. His passive just isn't amazing, but it's not bad. If you fall from a great height, you'll emit a shockwave, and that shockwave damages and I believe knocks down enemies. Let's see. So I'm going to show you, this is the loadout screen. Basically, you got currently two loadouts. We're going to change the name of this loadout just so I can remember it. We're going to rename it to Volt. So this will be our Volt loadout, and this will be our Rhino loadout, but we're going to focus on Rhino this episode. Volt's already been leveled up, we don't really need to worry about him. I'm going to go over the cosmetics real quick. He's got his helmets, he's got his skins, he's got his animations. I like the noble animation because just a preference there. He's got his armors. We're going to put on our ribbon because we've got it. Don't have any other armor for him. He's got a bandana, which we, again, don't have. And a bunch of other things. We're also going to change his colors real quick just to suit my preference.
You will strike terror in your enemy.
White, maybe. And then we'll go... What did I do for Volt? I think it was... white, gray... No, it was gray, white, gold, and cyan. Alright, so we're going to do that. So it'll be gray, white, gold, or yellow, and cyan. There we go. So now he's all decked out and he looks pretty cool in my opinion. We will jump straight into a mission. Oh, I forgot. My Lado didn't have custom colors, so I should put those on. I think one of these controls the... No, I guess none of it controls the metallic color. Alright, so currently we're leveling up the heat sword. As soon as we're done with that, we will level up our Galantine.
It will be marked on navigation.
And the Galantine is a great weapon. I'm really looking forward to using that. Here, let's change it over to gold, because having a big old gold sword is pretty cool. Change that to that. Perfect. So we will use that as soon as we're done leveling up the heat sword, which hopefully shouldn't take too long. But enough faffing around in menus.
Your chosen Warframe
Let's get on
you.
and let's show off how Rhino works, if we're able to. So to do Maru's Iatan hunts, you can either select the alert, which will just bring you straight to Maru's Bazaar. We'll click 3 for now, and then once you enter Maru's Bazaar, I will show you what you have to do to pick up that mission. It's not super complicated. I did previously make a mention that Maru's Bazaar is one of the places that you're able to trade with other players if you don't have a dojo, so it's good to remember that. Oh, I should probably skip that cutscene, but you know what? I think I'm going to show it off just because we got our new Warframe and he looks cool. He's a big buff burly dude. So all Warframes, even Rhino for instance, all move pretty much the same speed when you're doing a bullet jump and, you know, sliding and things of that nature and rolling. They all move approximately the same speed unless you change that with mods. So don't ever be afraid to use a bigger Warframe and be slow. Usually you won't be slow if, you know, other people don't have mods. So don't be worried about that. Worry more about what Warframes you'd like to play. So Marie just talked to us there about what we're able to do. We can talk to her, and real quick, you can trade here, so you can open equipments, and I believe you can open a trade somewhere. See, this is what I get for not doing my research. There is a way to trade. Perhaps we don't have that unlocked just yet, but we can talk to Maru about it.
Welcome to my bazaar. Tenno from all over the system come here to trade. Need any pointers? Selling, are we? Okay then, find a shady spot near the tree and let everyone know you're here. If someone sees something they like, it's time to start negotiating.
So effectively, like Maru said, you can find a spot. I think there's a keybind for it that I'm just not remembering. For selling things. But effectively, if you find something that you like from somebody, you can talk with them by inspecting them with eye, I believe. At least that is for my key binding, and
if you're looking for Maru's
you could trade with
Bazaar,
people here effectively.
You've come to the right place. Ah, so you're buying? That's nice. Keep a lookout for Tenno with something to sell. And remember, only suckers pay the first price.
So effectively she's just giving you pointers on how to trade. Not extremely important, but hey, we'll move on to what we're actually here for, Iatan treasures.
Shiny. You know about Endo, right? Those particles you use to boost your mods? Well, the Orican must have shared your fascination with it. Keep a lookout for their Iatan sculptures. Those things run on Endo. If you don't want the ornaments for your ship, I can extract the Endo from them. The more complete the sculpture, the more Endo I can extract. Just keep in mind, I keep the leftovers, okay? So, effectively, as Marie said, you can extract Endo from items such as Iatan's stars or Iatan's sculptures. It's definitely not worth it to sell or break down any Iatan sculpture, in my opinion, that doesn't have a full set of stars in it. So we're not going to worry about extracting Iatan from our sculpture. But we will look for Iatans. Of course. Though retrieving them won't be easy. Or safe, really. But then again, you probably knew that. Shall we?
As she stated, it's not safe. But this alert only happens once every week, or I believe it's once every week. Effectively, yes, it's weekly in the States. You can do it once every week, and then it'll allow you to get an Iatan treasure, guaranteed pretty much, which will allow you to get a lot of endo. In the end game, you'll have just tons of these if you continue to do them. So it's definitely worth it to do.
Here we go. Let's find some antiquities.
So just to show off our basic abilities, pretty much everything is the same movement-wise, but we do have our Rhino charge. Not very impressive at the moment, but it'll get better later. We can boop a guy over there. It doesn't do a lot of damage to him, but definitely moves him around a lot. Sometimes that's useful, sometimes that's not. So we're just going to jump over all these traps, because we don't want to deal with them right now. Even though Rhino is a very tanky Warframe, he doesn't have a lot of health at the very lowest level.
I stumbled across an Orokin codex that said this tower was known for its beautiful Iatan treasures. Unfortunately for you, it was also known for its deadly security apparatus.
So we will have to be somewhat careful when fighting these enemies, because our Volt was maximum level previously. As soon as we're able to get our Iron Skin ability, that will be pretty much a non-issue, but for the moment we want to be careful. We can pretty much avoid all these enemies because we're mostly just here for the Iatan treasure. Just go straight to the waypoint pretty much, but if you see any resource caches, it's definitely worth it to pick them up if you can. Alright, gonna run through this room. When in Orokin areas, you do want to avoid square plates, such as this one here. They're typically pressure plates. If you can avoid them, you won't trigger any traps. But if you do hit them, you'll trigger traps, and that can get in your way and kill you pretty quickly, even at higher levels. Those traps tend to do continuous damage, and continuous damage in Warframe is almost a death sentence. Almost. So previously I talked a little bit about armor and health, and I just want to go over those again, because Rhino in particular can take much more advantage of armor than Volt can. So increasing the health on Rhino is much more valuable than the armor. But it's much harder to replenish health because you need health orbs. So it's just something to think about. So in a room like this, you may notice that the waypoint goes through a wall. The only way to get through that wall is to activate the pressure plate, which sets off the trap, which reveals the secret area, which you're able to access
Wow.
once you've set off the trap.
For me. I mean, really fine. Promise.
I do love Maru's confidence in us. So most of these are timed. You must be very quick when you're doing them, so beware once you step on that plate. Be ready to run through this as quickly as possible. There will be lasers, among other traps. So let's just run through this one. I always like to get ready at the door beforehand. Now for this one is kind of confusing. My first few times through, I didn't really know where I was supposed to be going. You just want to run up here as quickly as possible. Avoid going slow by climbing up that wall. Kind of bullet jump up it, go down. And if you make it through all doors, the timer stops.
Found it.
Maru congratulates you, the doors go back up, and you can claim your Iatan treasure.
That's what we came here for. Your job's done.
I'm not positive, but I think that some of these loot containers have a... Whoa, there's a glitch for you. So, right in this door here, there's a zone that's supposed to teleport you back outside if you get trapped in the door itself. We gotta jump over it to prevent us from getting teleported back into that room. Ooh, we got Argon Crystal. So I can finally show off that the Argon Crystal resource is timed. And I'll show off where you can see your timer. I don't think we have anything to use it on at the moment, but these containers in these rooms, these secret rooms here, should definitely be broken. Just in case there's any good resources, such as mods or anything of that nature. Plus there's just tons of them. Why not break them? Alright, so now you just run to the end. We can pretty much avoid all these enemies, as I stated previously, and it's probably in our best interest to do that, considering how squishy we kind of currently are with our low-level Warframe. but that'll change pretty quickly. Alright. And that is a Maru's Bazaar treasure hunt. Not super complicated, but it's definitely something that you should take the time to do every week if you have the inclination, because it will get you lots of endo, and near the end of the game you need lots and lots of endo. So one of the weird things about this is it pumps you right back into the bazaar, but honestly, as I stated, I don't think giving Maru an Ayatan's sculpture without putting stars in it is really worth it. So we'll jump back into our ship. Let's show off the Argons real quick before I forget. So if you go into your foundry, you can take a look at all your blueprints, of course, but you can also click arcanes, which currently we don't have any. Not super important that we need them at the moment. And you can also click components, which shows you every type of component you have. Currently we have only one Argon crystal, and it'll only last a day. So if we don't use it within a day, it will go away. It will disappear from our inventory, and we will have to get another one. I don't think there's anything that I need a crystal for. I'm just double checking to make sure. Yep, nothing that we need an Argon crystal for at the moment, so that one will probably decay before we can get to it. I did want to show off the Ayatan sculptures and how you can improve them. So you can go over here to your Ayatan treasures. We'll do the PIV first. So it brings you to this screen where you can take a look at your Ayatan sculpture, but you can also insert stars into it by clicking the areas where you believe a star would go. It'll ask you to make sure that you want to do that, but we definitely want to do that. So we got 2 stars. It looks like the sculpture's beginning to come to life.
Operator, did you hear that? It said...
And there we go. With the final one installed, the sculpture is complete. The Orokin sculptures were considered perpetual motion machines, which are also referred to as kinetic Orokin sculptures. So they just move perpetually, thanks to the power from their stars. Not exactly perpetual motion, but I remember them being described as such. They will just continue to move. So you can take them and decorate them in your ship if you want. So you can go into equipment, landing craft, and decorate. This is the new decorate screen, which I'm not super familiar with, but effectively you can press 1 to place a decoration. We can put our Ayatan sculptures down. You can show that off. And then you can just do a whole bunch of different things with the legend there on the bottom right of the screen. We're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to escape out of here. We're not going to place that down. We don't really need a sculpture anywhere in our ship at the moment, but if you wanted to put them in your ship, you definitely can. And they're very entertaining because of how, you know, they move. I've seen lots of weird things that you can do with them, of course. Alright. So now that we've completed that, we can start moving again through the star map. And I did believe I was going to go up, didn't I, across there so we can get to Draco, so we can help complete the Jupiter Junction as fast as possible. Alright, so we'll start with Palace. We're not going to do the fissure, we're just going to do the regular mission. Jump straight into it. Not worrying about anything, just going to go straight into another mission. Our Rhino boy will hopefully level up here so we can actually show off one of his other abilities, but you never know. Now that we're getting into these tougher missions in the star map, especially as we progress to the next 2 or 3 planets, you'll start encountering enemies that are much tougher than the original planets like Earth and Mercury.
There is a large platoon of Grenier Marines,
and it's probably very worthwhile to just equip a weapon that you've fully ranked up and fully modded, so you can ensure that you're doing as much damage as possible. But I think we'll be okay with what we've got at the moment. Our Boltor's probably a lot better than the Paris. The Paris tends to be very, very slow because of that charge up time, though it does do a lot of damage. Currently, I think our Boltor is going to do us more justice in conjunction with our Heat Sword. Alright. Just kill all the dudes. We gotta kill how many dudes? 91, okay. Not a massive amount, but it'll take us some time to get through them all. Alright. Done and done. Okay, so we got one level up for our Rhino. That was a the signifier for that. But overall, it looks like we're going to need more if we want to unlock any of his other abilities. The main ability that I would really like to show off is his second ability, Iron Skin. Oh, we just got hit by something. Let's just go through, murder these guys. I'm going to switch to melee. Somebody did just join our group here. I think we're going to be able to go through this much quicker with his help. But we will see. Maybe he'll recognize that I'm just a little lobby here and kind of move through quicker. But
Alarm
I can only dream.
successfully hacked. The location is returning to normal security levels.
I think he just turned off the alarm, and I'm not sure why. It appears he's a Frost, I believe. He's got, I think that weapon just now was the Opticore. Not exactly sure why he's in this mission. Doing a lobby mission like this doesn't really benefit a player like him, but we will see. Maybe he's after a specific type of resource. Or maybe he's just here to help low-level players. Or low-rank players, that is. Alright, not gonna worry about any of that. Okay, I'm gonna jump through here. Let's see. I would like to move forward, but it looks like the waypoint's way back there. Let's avoid the waypoint and instead go with our intuition. Because I think we're going to want to go this way for more enemies. Yeah.
A Grenier assault team is headed your way.
I was indeed correct. A lot of the time the waypoint in these elimination missions, as I've talked about previously, is definitely wrong. I'd love it if it was right, though. I think we might have psyched out our buddy there. But that's okay. We went the other way, and I think he tried to follow us. But alright, moving through. He's got a very interesting weapon there. One that I don't see used all that often. It's kind of good. The Redeemer. Oh, and we're level 2. Leveling up a little bit quicker than I was expecting. I didn't think you get the next level right away, but that's good. The Redeemer is an interesting weapon, though. It's a melee weapon that also serves as a gun. Not many of those in Warframe, surprisingly, even though you'd think that would probably be very common. It ironically is not. Okay, cut through these guys. And make it through. I didn't realize what that guy's name was until just now. Probably best if I don't make a mention of it. Probably just avoid talking about that at all costs. Gotta love people and their internet names. It's a good thing this isn't a kid-friendly series, otherwise that might be a problem. Alright, moving through. And we have finished that mission. We're going to move on to the next one. Unsurprisingly, even though he did kill pretty good, he killed more than us. I believe that was just because of some of his abilities, though. In the future, we'll get better at that. It all comes with modding your Warframe, getting better weapons, things of that nature. So let's pop out of this group real quick. And let me see. Can we put any mods on our Rhino yet? I don't think so. We don't have any aura mods. Okay. We could actually no, we could potentially put one on there because we've got some D polarities. So that would be Vazarin. So we can put Vitality on there, which is good. Would love to also put Steel Fiber, but we can't do that just yet. Alright, that'll have to do for the moment. That'll give us at least a little bit more survivability as we move on to the next mission. interception. Probably be worth it to have a party for this one because it's interception, but we'll try and make do. Interception, I don't know if I've shown this off, but it's a rather annoying mission type where
These radio towers carry top secret interplanetary communications. You are going
as
to
the Lotus is
capture
kind of talking
towers
about
and
there,
decode incoming
we do have to
messages.
capture towers. It's very similar to defense, but a lot more annoying because you're not attempting to defend an objective, you're attempting to capture point. You're trying to capture points, which will then capture an objective, which can be very annoying. We're just going to move around that guy there. So we gotta capture our first point and then move on to the next tower as quickly as possible. We did manage to unlock our Iron Skin ability though, which is good.
Captured a radio tower.
So Iron Skin is the ability I previously mentioned. It prevents us from taking any sort of damage as long as it's up. As Rhino, you pretty much want to always have that up and running if you're able to.
This tower is ours now.
We will probably lose that other tower before we are able to capture another one, but that is okay.
Tower captured.
Alright.
Beginning stream decode now.
So the major part
We
of
have
this
lost
mission that you
control of
must
the tower.
understand, of course, is that these terminals where the NPCs will walk to, I'll show one off here in a second, are the main objectives here. These terminals here. If you can defend those, you can succeed in the mission and move forward.
Tower online.
Alright, so we've got that tower online. I'm going to try and prevent them from getting another one. So with Rhino's Iron Skin ability, oh, let's see, where is the other?
Tower lost.
I don't see where the other, there we go. So he's attacking that tower. And of course you cannot capture these objectives while enemies are in them, so that makes them a little bit more difficult.
You must recapture it.
We must capture this tower, and then we're going to move over to that tower real quick. The enemies tend to focus on one tower in particular, so leaving the other ones that aren't being focused on is probably the best objective. I did notice that there were a bunch of guys over there for that one, so we'll try and jump over to that one here in a
We
second.
have control of all 4 towers.
Where are they? So those objectives there are what you want to defend to the best of your ability. They will be what activates or deactivates a tower. That was Rhino's passive activating right there. Fell from a sufficient height and had it activate. The audio cues for these towers are also quite important. Hearing them, the alarm will tell you that one of them is being attacked at one of those control panels. Oh, Hayeka Masters. I don't know if we've run into these guys yet, but I feel like we have. I want to stop talking about enemies so much, just because I feel like you'll see what they can do when we're going through these playthroughs more than I can explain, really. You might have noticed that on our Iron Skin ability, in the top right there is a readout for how much is left, but there's also a percentage counter down at the bottom right on top of the actual ability icon itself.
The enemy have taken a tower. You must
Right.
recapture it.
So we're going to capture this final tower,
captured.
and move over to this tower, try to intercept as many enemies as possible. Okay, so our Iron Skin has fallen off. We're going to reapply it. You cannot reapply Iron Skin without exhausting the previous Iron Skin, which is somewhat problematic, but not massively hindering at the moment. In the future, that would become a bigger problem
Tower is ours now. Tower
when
lost.
some enemies can take off your Iron Skin very quickly. But overall, I still think it's a very good ability, and there's also an augment, which is a mod which changes Warframe abilities that we can get later on to improve that. Let's just go over here, deal with this Arson Extremis. So that fire wave that he did there would have actually tripped us up if we didn't have Iron Skin. Thanks to Iron Skin, I'm pretty sure we avoided it completely.
captured. Begin
Knockdown
stream decode now.
is considered a status effect, so when I stated that you would be immune to all status effects, you're also immune to knockdowns, which is pretty nice in the grand scheme of things. There are lots of enemies that knock you down, such as
We have lost
corrupted
control
ancients, for
of the
instance,
tower. You have captured a radio
and can
tower.
prevent you from doing anything, and Iron Skin just pretty much invalidates them as major threats. They're still quite annoying
We
as
have
enemies,
successfully
but
decoded the
nowhere
message.
near as what they
Clear
could
the
be
air.
without status effects. Alright, so all enemies dealt with, all towers captured, we've reached
More
100%
data is
before
being
they did.
broadcasted. Are you willing to risk going back into the field?
I think we'll call that at that mission. Interception is definitely one of my least favorite types of missions. It is endless, but I just really don't like it overall.
Good work today. Not only have we decoded the enemy transmissions,
Alright,
we have also disrupted their communications.
so I think we got an achievement there for 10 hours of play. It's not bad. I'm sure it'll go a lot longer as time goes on. We've kind of shown off just the very basics of what our Rhino is capable of. Done a couple missions, including the Maru's Bazaar. Next week I probably won't be doing Maru's Bazaar just because we want to progress and get these other missions done. I will hopefully be able to do Christie, Kerr, and then maybe the 10-minute long Draco, which we need to do for the Jupiter Junction. And that will probably finish off next week's episode. For the moment, though, I think we'll call it here. We've shown off our new Warframe. Rhino's a fantastic frame if you haven't already picked him up. Highly suggest it. He's very tanky. It's really fun to just run into enemies and not die compared to some of the other Warframes, which are just feel at times like paper because of how easy it is for them to get knocked down. But overall, there's not much more I can praise about him without just seeing him for yourself, so just check him out. Check out any Warframe, really, that you really like. That's my major point, I guess I'm trying to get to with this series, is just, if you enjoy it, play it. You can make whatever you want in Warframe work, so try it out. But until next time,
The system needs you. Will you begin another mission?
we'll begin another mission next time, Ortis, and goodbye.